At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. Now stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
All right, it's Sincerely Unqualified. If you're new with us, welcome. If not, welcome back. If you could like, rate, review, do all that good stuff, subscribe, it would really help us out. Last week, we made a little bit of a transition from our normal bread and butter movie guys to film guys. And now this week, I feel like, are we cinema guys now?
Look,
is this like proper cinema?
No, I'm going to say one thing. We're still comedy guys. We're still in the comedy realm. There's a wide expanse of comedy. Like the comedies that we loved at the beginning and everything like that we've done to this point, it's been like the Knocked Ups. It's been like the Seth Rogen, the Apatows, everything like that.
Well,
exactly.
staples to us.
Yeah,
our
and
childhood staples.
Exactly. And that's what comes to mind when you think of like those classic, like turn your mind off kind of comedies. Talladega Nights, Step Brothers. Now we're getting into a little bit of the deeper comedies. We're getting into a little bit of like the might not be right off the top of your head the first thing you think of comedies, whether it's the Scott Pilgrims like we did last week or what we're doing this week. We're diving into the Wes Andersen world. But you know what? We love it. And it's still a comedy. So we're still in our world. We're just like we're on a different continent, but we're still here.
And who knows? Hey, like we started very niche. We started comedy movies. Maybe we'll start branching out. Who knows? We'll see what the people want. So if you could also let us know that, let us know any movies you want us to talk about. You can hit us up on Instagram, TikTok. Email us at sincerelyunqualified@gmail.com. But as Winnie said, and as you know from the title, we're going Wes Andersen today. We're going to go Rushmore. We're going the Royal Tenenbaums. But before that, we need to let you know that Father's Day is just around the corner, and you probably need a gift for a hairy dad. Make your dad proud this year and get him and yourself the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. The Lawnmower 4.0. We made the upgrade, and you're going to get it for your dad and yourself with 20% off and free shipping with the code UNQUALIFIED at manscaped.com. My dad listens to this podcast. He actually already has one. He was supporting us. We don't need to get into that at all. But we're going to,
I think that I also got my dad one. I got to say, it's a great gift to, leave at their doorstep, I will say, and maybe not have a deeper conversation about, but it's an incredible gift.
Do not let me know if you ever use it.
Yeah, I don't want to hear, the specifics about who or what loved the results, but if you're enjoying the product, that's all that matters. Like, you don't need to talk about the results with your father, but if you want to get it for yourself, 20% off. If you want to get it for your father, if you want to get it for a stepfather, if you want to get it for anybody who plays a big role in your life, I'm telling you, they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, obviously, it's not only for down there. It's best for down there, but you can tell yourself that your dad's going to use it for something else, and you will get them a gift you know they will use. So
you know what else there is too for some extra hairy dads? A lot of people got nose hair. A lot of people have ear hair. Pretty disgusting. Gotta say, not a big fan.
You know
when you see older people and they have that hair hanging out of their nose, like just like
too much.
Yeah, it's just
too
like
much.
You know that you can either pluck it or that they see it in the mirror, and it's just I don't know if they ignore it. Do something about it. Get them that grooming tool from Manscaped as well. Get them the whole package deal. They'll be excited. You'll be excited.
Absolutely. So that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use unqualified. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls. This year, show your original home some love with Manscaped. And it's biologically true. You came from your dad's balls. Shout out you,
Dad.
Dad.
There's no
Thanks for
arguing yet. Yeah. Hey, Kevin's dad, thanks for this. Now we're making a podcast. It all comes full circle. You see that?
It does, yeah. How would anyone else be talking about Wes Andersen movies on a Zoom call? We needed my dad to do that. So let's get into this now. We won't be doing walkthroughs today. Probably would have made for a really long episode, but we're going to go give you a nice, good overview of these movies, exactly what we think. We're going to do the regular overview sections, and we're going to start with Rushmore. Winnie liked Rushmore more than I liked it, so we're going to have you take the lead here, Winnie.
Yes, I am a huge Rushmore fan. So first off, we'll start off with the ratings, okay? So Rushmore alone on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 90% critic, 91 audience. Crazy good. I mean, I'd probably give it like a 93 just from my own perspective. Okay. But you can't go wrong when the audience and the critic are both in the 90s. I feel like that's where the, the good stuff hangs out.
Well, especially because like normally with when critic ratings are so high, it's because they are honestly like movies like this, like movies like normal Wes Andersen movies. So when you see the audience score that high too, it's pretty surprising. Like you know that you're getting an actually very good movie, not just a critic.
Yeah. Because there's some critic movies where you're looking, it's like 95 critics, 68 audience. And you're like, they're clearly looking for that artsy schmartsy stuff that I don't really dig. The audience is like, look, that flew over our heads. Keep it for Sundance guy. Okay. But this hit on all cylinders. And the director, obviously, as we said, is Wes Andersen. The screenwriters, which I was surprised to learn, and I know Kev was a little bit too, it's Wes Andersen. And then for both of these movies, it's been Owen Wilson too. Because we don't traditionally think of Owen Wilson as this like mastermind writer, especially for these Wes Andersen movies. At least I didn't at first.
Yeah, I mean, like, we knew how involved he was, and it's just kind of funny because you see, I mean, these are actors, and they are also, most people, even if they're in a Wedding Crashers, or they're in some of the goofier comedies, a lot of it comes from art. Like, this is more comedic art, I would say, in its own way. Now, that's a very subjective definition. We can get into that. We cannot get into that. But it's just funny because the really mainstream stuff that you see Owen Wilson does not really add up to him like writing this movie alongside Wes Andersen. I think that also just proves that we're like, that's dumb. That's just like dumb brain. Like Owen Wilson, Wedding Crashers. He just does that.
Well, because I think we think of him as the guy who just you see on screen. He's think of just
we
like that's
memed him.
I know he's become personified by one word, and it's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
I think that we underestimate Owen Wilson, and we've been underestimating him because you didn't take this deeper look at like, holy shit, he's got writer's credits on probably most Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah, and that's honestly funny probably because I bet there are a lot of people that love movies, especially movies like this that could be listening to this. And they just think we're really dumb.
Serious? You didn't know that? Like, why do you think every Wilson brother is in every single Wes Anderson movie? It's like, because they wrote it together. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think that, aside from the writers and the screenwriters and the directors, the cast in this movie is incredible. And you can't tell me I'm wrong there because we have the film debut of Jason Schwartzman. I'm just going to say it one more time because I know that I needed to say it. Well, I need some water. Jason Schwartzman. There we go. He played Jason Schwartzman, but he played Max Fisher. Bill Murray. We haven't done a Bill Murray movie yet, and now we've got fucking two of them. Yeah. Because Bill Murray is the GOAT. He played Herman Bloom. We had Olivia Williams, who was Rosemary Cross, Miss Cross. Seymour Castle, who was Bert Fisher, Max's dad, who was the barber, the GOAT. Brian Cox, who, I've credited with Succession a few times, I think, was Professor Guggenheim, Nelson Guggenheim. Mm-hmm. Mason Gamble was Dirk. Sarah Tanaka was Margaret Yang. Stephen McCall was Magnus Buchan? I forget how you say it because he always had this accent. He's the Scot. I'm not going to say the other thing, Kev. Don't bait me into it. Then we have Luke Wilson, who is Dr. Peter Flynn. And finally, we have Andrew Wilson. As mentioned, all Wilsons involved. Yep. It's a full Wilson on deck picture who is Coach Beck. So what do you think about this movie? Because I know we had a little bit of a difference between the two. Sure. So you tell me your thoughts.
So I think this movie is good. I think that it is honestly a very perfect, if you don't have much going on the weekends, and that's actually exactly what I did yesterday with this movie. I think that it's like, if you're hanging out in your apartment, in your house, and you don't have much going on, maybe gets a few chores done, maybe fold some laundry. It's a fantastic movie to kind of have on in the background because it is a good movie. And it does follow a very good story, and it is funny. I just think that it's a very slow burn, and I don't think that it comes around enough to have it be an all-timer for a slow burn. I do think it's good. I think I would like it more than other people would, because I can see people going into this and kind of finding it slightly boring.
Really?
Yeah. I think that it does have a decently slow burn to it.
I think that, from my perspective, so it was like, okay, I've obviously seen it more than a few times. And whenever I watch it, it's just like, I feel like because I know what's coming, but also like I know how funny some of the lines are. And I think that some of the interactions that some people may think are, whether they be boring or meaningless, there's a little bit more going on, and there's some gems in there. Like there's some gem lines and like maybe the meaningless scenes or like the mundane scenes that you see, whether it's just like walking around or some things like that. Like not every scene obviously is going to be a hit, but I think that even when there's that slow build and even when there's that boringness, there's something for me that just draws me in more.
Yeah. I think that when you watch these movies a few times, and they're movies like this that are kind of like the slower ones, I think it's almost like a comfort blanket. If you like it and you keep rewatching it, you know what's going to happen. It's like there's a lot of comfort in that. For me, a Wes Andersen movie like that is Moonrise Kingdom. I've seen Moonrise Kingdom a few times, and I can just throw that on. I could see people saying it's a little out there, a little boring, and I would get that. But whenever I watch it, it's just like every moment to me is kind of like that. We'll talk about the Royal Tenenbaums then, and kind of I'll compare these two. But I think my overall gist on this movie, and it was a first watch, it's very important to note, as we were just talking about that rewatchability, that is, it's just on the slower side, but still very good, still has very funny moments. Like it's a comedy. Exactly.
And I think that this movie makes the best of, what Wes Andersen does so well, is making odd concepts or things that are just so kind of outlandish taboo. When you see them. Exactly. He makes them less taboo when we view them. It almost makes it feel like it's weird. Yes, we understand that, but it's not so weird that we're turned off by it, or that we're like backing away from it, as if to say like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like there's a 15-year-old hitting on a teacher throughout the whole thing. Yeah. And we're just like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, there's some quirkiness to it, but like we didn't think of it as like insanely weird and just, taken off by that. And I think that's what he does well.
Wes Andersen does do that extremely well. He takes I would assume that it's similar to Woody Allen movies, and funny enough, never seen a Woody Allen movie.
Really?
We were just talking about my dad. Maybe it's just because he wasn't into them, so I didn't end up watching them. Well, to my knowledge, I haven't watched one. I can't remember if I have, but I know that he does that too. Like we won't get into what he did and why he was making movies like that. Yeah. But it's the same kind of concept. You have a 15-year-old that's hitting on this teacher. That's not what you're supposed to be doing nowadays. But we watch this movie, and he kind of gets away with it because the story's developed so well, because he kind of earns it. It is kind of weird talking about though.
But I do love another thing too that he does, we saw in both movies, is that there's these really minor characters in each of them, but no matter how long a character's on screen in one of his movies, they can make an impact, and they can make a comedic impact, or they can make there's an overstated impact of all of these smaller characters, because you feel like for some reason you've gotten to know them more than you have. Like he creates that almost relationship with these smaller characters, where in other movies, if you have somebody with 2 lines, you might be like, oh, I completely forgot they were in it.
Oh, they were in this movie?
In this one, I had to say, like, Mr. Little Jeans. He was probably in it for 3 scenes. Probably he was like the janitor that Rushmore. And I feel like he contributed so much more than he actually did to the movie itself by being at Max's play or being almost hit by the car. Like, he was a major part of it without actually being a major part of it. And that's something that I think is really funny and really well done.
Yeah, I think that's almost like it's the world has been built out so much before we get the view inside of it in this in these movies. That is something he does extremely well. And then even like the supporting characters like Magnus, like you were talking about the Scottish guy. He is so funny in this, but in terms of his screen time, it's probably pretty low.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And I think like he makes the most of each part. Obviously, he's memorable because he's the one kid with like a Scottish accent and the whole thing. Yeah. But there's clearly been like this. There's like a rapport between them. There's been all of this. It seems like they've known each other forever. Even when, Brian Cox's character has a heart attack and Max goes to the hospital, his wife is like, "Oh, hello, Max. Like, how are you?" Greets him like, "It's been so nice to see you." You can tell that there was this thought process of like, they've had a relationship. Here's what's happened. And I would love to know what goes into that, because it's like, not only do you have that comedic aspect of like, where do we get the funny from? But also, how do we build out these characters so that there's this web and that they're all interconnected in some way, shape, or form? Like, what is the relationship between him, and how is it with her, and where does that come in? It's really, I think this is where this movie and like this style separates itself a little bit more from like the Wedding Crashers and the Step Brothers, because there's that little bit extra that goes in. Yeah, well, and you were talking about like building out that web, and I think that a very classic movie that I was just thinking of is Superbad. And obviously it's set in high school, and it was written over so many years, so many years. And I think that they established that because most of the stories were true. So you can kind of throw something in, and it's because everyone's had these experiences to build this very concise story. And then you kind of feel like that's happened. Like you think that you're kind of there with them. I think that in this movie especially, Wes Andersen does a good job with that. I think there's probably something to like schools with that. Yeah. Because the same thing. This also, I forgot to mention, this gives me kind of Dead Poet Society vibes. And that also might be just dumb guy like, oh, they're like wearing uniforms. School. Yeah. They both wear uniforms.
It means that it's the same thing. Yeah. No, I think that they do that as well. Like you kind of feel like you know these characters. I think that like a school setting lends to itself very well there. Yeah. I think that and then the intro too, where it like brings you into the world where I have all of them listed out because I thought this was really funny. And I know Wes Andersen does this a lot, where he does these kind of cutaways to either the past or anything like that. But it's showing you everything that Max has done in his career at Rushmore when he's like failing all these classes. So he was like the whole extracurricular.
Publisher of the Yankee Review, president of the French Club, Model UN Russia, Stamp and Coin Club VP, debate team captain, lax manager, calligraphy club president, astronomy society founder, fencing team captain, track and field JV decathlon, so not a super athlete. Second choral choir master, bombardment society founder, kung fu yellow belt, trap and ski club founder, Rushmore beekeepers president, important, Yankee Racers Foundation, Max Fisher playwright director, and the Piper Club 4.5 5-hour flight logged. So he's a pilot and everything else, and getting 37s in classes.
Yeah, I think that's the comedic premise there. Like in his character is that for whatever reason he's so involved, because normally when you're involved, you care about school, but he's just along for the ride. He just likes doing all that extra stuff, which, I mean, that extra stuff is fun.
I know. And he comes off as such like this well-educated, well-rounded student. And that's where Bill Murray comes in and is kind of drawn into him, because on the outside, he seems like this well-rounded, like super intellectual, very well-studied, very well-read student. And you see that when he first meets Bill Murray, it's like, oh, who is that kid? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't want to spoil the line because I know we have that in a little, but it's, that outward perception versus what's actually going on. And it's weird how that relationship develops, because Bill Murray's kids are such idiots that I guess he thinks like, all right, let me talk to this kid who's more mature than my kids, who seems to be, you know, a better student, better read, just more mature all around. I can be friends with him. Also, it's like a 60-year-old becoming friends with a 15-year-old somehow. They're all like friends. Like, there's no age limit to friendships in Wes Anderson movies. I feel
Yeah. I think that's something that he like takes pride in, probably, and being able to kind of break down those barriers. But on average, it probably is kind of weird for them to be friends.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like this multi-millionaire just becoming friends with a 16-year-old, 15-year-old. It seems interesting, but it is cool how their relationship develops. It's almost like he's treating him like a son he's never had because his sons are idiots, but at the same time genuinely interested in hanging out with him, and also kind of he's super depressed and wants to find a way to be a kid again almost.
Yeah.
So just like, finding that like innocence. This is super film guy talk right here. Let's
hope that people are here for it. I mean, that's what makes his character so interesting, though, is because it even if you're not an old person, or even if you aren't directly experiencing that, I think that's something that's really attainable to a lot of people. Is like, oh, I could see why someone could be quote unquote washed up and trying to find some innocence again. So I think that's why we're along for the ride, to be like, oh, okay, this old man is going to be friends with this 15-year-old. Also, by the way, let's point this out quick. I don't know how, actually, we should look this up. If you want to look it up as I'm talking, Jason Schwartzman's age in this. I don't know how old he was supposed to be, but he looked a lot older than 15. Like, I think that was kind of a reveal.
He was 17. He was 17.
Yeah. Oh, he just kind of looked older
to me.
So
too far off. I mean,
thought he was in his like 20s at least.
He's a more mature face. I guess that played into him like flirting with the teacher and everything too. The whole movie is basically based around him having this crush on the teacher and finding Bill Murray, and him also having a crush on the teacher, but actually getting some because Bill Murray is like an older,
a proper
like
age.
Obviously he's
it's
older and not underage. It's not illegal, like you said. But I love where they bring in like, okay, they're friends. He's trying to build this aquarium, doesn't go well. Everything. They find out Bill Murray's getting with, Miss Cross. Then they have this war of kind of pranks with each other.
As in Bill Murray, like finally being a normal adult and calling the cops like, hey, this kid's like, got to stop.
Let's just say this went a little far. Like his brake lines got cut. First of all, that's got to be one of the extracurricular clubs too. It's probably Mechanics Society if he knows how to cut brake lines so naturally at 15.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have YouTube. Well, maybe they did have YouTube back then, but
probably in 99.
99. I'm dumb.
Well,
all I'm saying is like it did not surprise me at all that he was just like, yeah, I know how to cut brake lines on a car.
Yeah, I know. It's got to that point, and then like Bill Murray gets okay. Let's just say this too. I want to say nobody could have played this character as well as Bill Murray. And the one scene that did it for me when it shows that is when he's in the elevator with Max in the hospital, and he's not only drinking, but he's smoking a cigarette in the hospital. Another big Wes Anderson thing is smoking in hospitals.
Love smoking in hospitals.
Yeah. I don't understand, but always smoking in hospitals. But he's smoking and then drinking and then lights up a second cigarette. And that's when I knew, like, all right, nobody really could have played this part as well as Bill Murray.
No, it's actually perfect. Perfect for Bill Murray.
Yeah. And this is kind of credited with, like, his second birth in stardom a little bit, where it's like rebranding him almost as this comedic dramatic actor versus, like, just a straight, hey, Caddyshack kind of guy. Which is a little bit crazy to think, like, because for our whole lives, really, we've known Bill Murray as, like, this can-do-anything kind of guy.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good point, that now he's just, we think of him as this incredible actor that can do anything, can do no wrong. And it's kind of funny looking back on his more Owen Wilson Wedding Crashers type roles.
Yeah, for us, he's literally just like
circle.
Bill Murray. But that'd be like somebody in 20 years seeing like a Seth Rogen and being like, oh yeah, he can do anything. Like super dramatic actor, like, just can do anything. And us looking back and being like, didn't you see not even Superbad, like Pineapple Express? Like, you remember him in that movie?
Yeah.
Not to say that Seth Rogen can't do it, because if anybody can, I think it's going to be him.
Yeah,
But
we'll see. Let's call that now.
honestly,
We're expecting
who's
it.
yours? Is yours Seth Rogen too? You're calling your shot?
I think, yeah, I think that's a really good call, actually. I think Seth Rogen he could go on to kind of do that if he wants to. He kind of has, I think he's trying to build a weed empire right now, so that might cut into his dramatic acting time, but.
Well, he made a little bit of a transition with like The Long Shot, where it was not so much more of like a straight line comedy. I know, but it's a little bit straight. He's going that way, you know?
He has acting ability. Yeah.
No, obviously. Well, then there's Jonah Hill, who went from Superbad to like fucking Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
I think
no
Jonah's already made that. But you want to go through some favorites?
Yeah. I mean, I also want to say one last thing. Gotta feel for the dad in this movie. You gotta feel for the dad. Because I just feel bad. I felt bad the whole time when Max was just like, oh, I'm just the son of a barber. Like, oh, this is a barber's son. I was like, dude, come on. Like, be real. Like, just, it's your fucking dad.
Yeah, I agree. But also at the same time, I think they're just serving that story more that Rushmore is full of these rich kids.
Yeah.
And it's tough for him even to have his dad be what he is. But then I like it that it comes around and he's like accepted his dad for being a barber, you know?
Yeah.
But I
Bill
love
Murray.
Hey,
I mean, all around some great fucking laughs in this movie.
Yes,
There's a
good
lot of
laughs.
like more real emotions too, and just all around craziness because Wes Anderson. But I think that it drives it home. I think it's a great comedy. And my favorite character for that alone is going to be Magnus.
Yeah, he is the most comedic character that we have. Because everything that comes out of his mouth is basically for the purpose of laughter.
It's always funny. I always wanted to be in one of your fucking plays.
Yeah, that's the best reveal too. We're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
waiting on
like
that
he's
one.
just angry because he wanted to be included.
Yeah. We were just talking about him. Mine is going to be Bert Fisher, Max's dad.
Yeah.
Just such a nice guy. He's just so content with everything. He's very polite. He kind of feels bad. And that's the thing. You do feel bad for him the whole movie, but he just keeps up this positive attitude. I'm just like, yeah,
he's
that's
so
my guy.
nice. And then you're just like, he's when Luke Wilson's character is like, oh, so you're a neurosurgeon. He goes, actually, I'm a barber, but we often get confused. I was like, this dude's awesome.
It's a
like,
good
he's
line.
the nicest person ever. Yeah.
Good line, Bert.
Yeah. I mean, okay. But then we got to go favorite scenes it's literally like probably 10 seconds. But when Max is on the phone with him at the public school and he's talking to Bill Murray on the phone and Bill Murray's on his cell phone just walking through the playground.
Yeah.
And there's like this 9-year-old just playing basketball, shooting around with his friends. He's about to shoot and Bill Murray stuffs the shit out of him.
Yeah. I did not know what you were like. You had Bill Murray stuffing the shit out of a 9-year-old written down. And I was like, I don't even know what he means. That part was very, very good.
It's
that
so
was like
good.
a laugh out loud moment.
Yeah. Just out of nowhere stuffing the shit out of a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
He probably loved doing it too. He's like, can we run that back?
I'm gonna need another take of that. Oh,
Yeah.
there's something that just feels so good about stuffing someone's shot that I
yeah.
feel like you have to. Even if it's acted out and it's a 9-year-old, you're just like, yeah.
Especially when that little kid is just like, yeah, bitch, I'm fucking Bill Murray. You don't know what you're dealing with here, kid.
Mine, I was going to take The Final Play, but we talked about it during our overview section, and we were talking about that elevator scene where it's so Bill Murray, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that because it's
I think
kind
that's
of
a good
funny.
call.
It's kind of depressing. It just hits all of those emotions there. I'll take the elevator scene.
I think that's safe. And I think we can say if you were going chalk, it's going to be The Final Play.
Yeah.
Just because they basically did Apocalypse
resolves.
Now as a rom-com. But, I mean, that was awesome, first of all. But I will say that those two scenes, like comedy-wise, are way funnier.
Yeah.
All right, you want to jump into lines? I'll go through the... I'm not going to do the accent for this one.
Come on.
No, I'm not going to do the accent.
Just do it.
All right, I got to think about it for a second. All right. You piece of... All right, I'll go for it.
It'd be so much better if you just did it off the cuff. Let's go.
Why didn't you piss off Fisher, you dirty wee skid mark? Is that Latin?
Sorry to our Scottish listeners.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You got to teach me how to do it better. I don't know what else to include there.
We'll do some lessons. If you're Scottish
Yeah.
and you're listening, shoot us a note and then we'll hop on a Zoom call or something.
It's more guttural.
Yeah. So why didn't you just piss off Fisher, you dotty weed skid mark? And then is that Latin? Is what you were saying.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Is that Latin?
we were talking about it. We got my favorite character, but it's just kind of like a funny line because it shows the reality of the situation. Just, my father may only be a doctor, but we manage. What are you talking about, man? He's a doctor.
Oh, he's a neurosurgeon, and you're at the top prep school. Oh, but we manage.
We're trying to get by. We're just skating by.
Offers him a job. Yeah, exactly. Mine, that's probably said in my household once a day, is these are OR scrubs. At dinner when Luke Wilson's just like coming right from the OR, he's, oh, these are OR scrubs. Oh, are they? So good.
It's good, yeah.
And I love that Bill Murray like goes to... He like started choking on his drink.
Yeah, that was so good. Oh, the awkward tension in the room was terrible. Just
You're
terrible.
the one who got him a whiskey.
Yeah, letting him drink. Mine's gonna be the last line of this, but it's when Bloom and Guggenheim are talking after Max walks up to them after Bloom gives the speech. So Bloom says, "What's his name again?" Max Fisher. Sharp little guy. He's one of the worst students we've got. We were talking about that. You think he's so well read. You think he's so smart. No,
he's not at all.
Worst.
And that's shown. I mean, absolutely.
So we'll move on to inexclusive exclusives here.
Let's do it.
So Wes Andersen actually drummed up publicity the old-fashioned way. He was traveling around the country in just a tour bus, and he had like big screen TVs, VCRs, a CD player, cell phone, satellite dish, everything that you could think of for late 90s tech. And apparently it was just because he hated to fly. Like, was scared of flying, and he was just touring in this decked out tour bus.
If you're going to do it right then. I mean, that's one way to, it's like, I'm going to show it to everybody. Well, maybe it's just because you don't like flying, but we'll do it. We'll take it. That was probably so fun too, honestly.
That sounds so much more fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There definitely was a bathroom. Yeah.
I don't know. You know, some people.
There definitely was a bathroom. Okay. So this was Jason Schwartzman's film debut, as we said, and he actually beat out 1,800 teenagers. So there were 1,800 teenagers that auditioned from the U.S., Canada, and England for Max Fisher. Jason Schwartzman came out on top. I think I just said it like you the first time you said it.
Yeah, you did.
Jason Schwartzman. It's a little bit of a tongue twister.
It's a lot, right? It's a lot to Jason Schwartzman because it's the Schwartzman. You go from Son to Schwartz, so it's Son Schwartzman. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm telling you. Bill Murray in this movie got a nomination for a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor. Well deserved. And starting on from Rushmore, Bill Murray has been in every Wes Andersen movie that followed. So they worked on films like Moonrise Kingdom, which you mentioned before, Grand Budapest Hotel, The Life Aquatic, which I also love, Royal Tenenbaums, which we'll get to. It's almost like they go hand in hand, whether there's going to be a Wilson brother and Bill Murray, but it's a winning combo for all of them, for all these Wes Andersen movies.
Yeah, it's funny that they have the core and then you have some like ridiculously good actors peppered into the random other movies.
Yeah.
Like you're getting the Wilsons and Bill Murray. It's just that who else is going to be on board?
Yeah. It's like Tannenbaums, you got Ben Stiller coming on too and Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, holy shit, what's going on here?
Big time.
In this one, you had Jason Schwartzman. I'm not going to do it again. Not going to do it. Jason Schwartzman.
There you go. That was perfect.
So he came to his audition wearing a prep school blazer. I'm doing it now for every fucking Z. A prep school blazer. Prep school blazer. See? Now we're getting back to
hey, you got a prep school blazer on, see?
It's a Wonderful Life. Every episode we do It's a Wonderful Life. But hey, Mary. He had a prep school blazer which had a Rushmore patch that he made himself, which helped him, I'm assuming, to stand out from the other 1,800 people who were auditioning.
I would say so. Yeah.
I think that does.
When you're looking through headshots after the day is over, you're like, that kid put on a blazer with a patch he made himself, right?
Yeah.
Give it to him. He was pretty good.
Remember the kid who made a fucking blazer for himself with a patch?
Remember the blazer that guy made?
His name was Schwarzman, right?
This Christmas, since we already did a comedy Christmas episode last
I think we
Christmas,
just do.
Let's just do It's a Wonderful Life, but the whole episode is us doing an annoying accent that people probably already hate from the like 35 episodes we've done.
Exclusive, see?
So the pictures of Mrs. Cross's dead husband in her bedroom, we see him, Wilson brothers. It's Owen Wilson.
Of course it fucking is.
Of course it is, because why wouldn't it be? We got the Wilson brothers. He co-wrote this movie. We got to get the pictures of him as a dead husband in there. I think that's pretty obvious.
That's how you get all three sprinkled in. You're like, well, if he's not going to appear, just put a picture of him somewhere.
Yeah, we need him.
Yeah.
So we mentioned it with lines, and Bill Murray gives this really funny speech. He's talking about how some of the rich kids just get there because they're rich. The poor kids need to put them in their aim and take them down. And that speech was actually inspired by a speech that the Wilson's brothers' dad gave. So Robert Wilson, he gave a speech pretty similar, and then Owen Wilson pulled on his knowledge from that and dropped it in the movie.
It's what you got to do. I can't even imagine hearing a speech like that. I'm assuming it was when all three of the brothers were in school together, and that was probably like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, this is weird.
Dad's up there again.
Yeah, I love the idea of someone having the balls to get up there and do that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be so funny. Bill Murray again. We're going on a Bill Murray streak because we got to make up for 34 episodes of not mentioning his name.
Yeah.
Say his name. Bill Murray was genuinely annoyed with Keith McCauley and Ronnie McCauley, who played his sons in the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, can't blame him for, what we saw on screen. So a lot of the scenes that they were in where he kind of lashes out at them were improvised because he was genuinely lashing out at them. And the insults were just coming from him and not necessarily the script.
That's so funny because we think of Bill Murray in this like awesome way, but then also because you feel like Bill Murray, you're like, I could see it. I could see it being annoyed.
Well, yeah. I feel like that's a thing you get when you bring Bill Murray on. Is like, just don't piss him off, please.
Yeah.
But it brings out the best, I feel like. Because we got some gold from it. Yeah. And the Bentley that he drove around, so the Bentley that was used in filming, was kind of like, I don't want to say a dowry, but almost a dowry, because in exchange for using the Bentley, the owner's daughter was appearing in the film, so she got to be in the movie.
Yeah, she got like, booked because her dad owned the Bentley. That's good stuff. Keep it on with the Bill Murray train. When he first read the script, he thought it was so fantastic. He said he would do it for free. Like, he was just so down with this script. He wanted to be in it so bad. Didn't even need to be paid.
I mean, that's when you know that you're going to strike gold. And I also think that it's created, if he even did this for free, I think it created one of the best lasting relationships we've seen in modern cinema.
Yeah, in cinema.
Modern cinema. We're those guys. We're those guys now. And the book that Max is reading at the beginning of the movie, just because I love this connection so much, is Diving for Sunken Treasure by Jacques Cousteau, who was
just say Jacques Cousteau for if nothing, at least so we can put this on TikTok.
Jacques
maybe.
Cousteau.
All right, fine.
All right, I'll start
You're gonna
again.
Make your own account. And
so
you're
the book that he was reading, at the beginning of the movie, Diving for Sunken Treasure by Jacques Cousteau, was the main inspiration for Wes Andersen's later film, The Life Aquatic, with Steve Zissou, who also stars Bill Murray as Steve Zissou.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Bill Murray was paid $9,000 for Rushmore. So
cool.
Not a ton, but he did get paid. And then also, I just want to point out that I've blanked on the name Komu for Scott Pilgrim last week. And you said like Comeo or something.
Comeu?
And I was like, well, that's Comeu. I was like, that's not right.
Yeah.
But during the fact, I actually just butchered the pronunciation.
Yeah,
there were
what
really
is
like
it?
2 people in our comments that called us out for it. But
Wait, what is it? What's the correct way to say it?
I think it's either just like an oo, like Komu, or o, like Como. But it's definitely not Comeu.
Guess we'll find out.
King of pronunciation. Well, kings of pronunciation.
Somebody duet the TikTok then and tell us, just solely say how to pronounce it and nothing else.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
You want to move on to the Royal Tenenbaums here.
It's Tenenbaum time.
Something also just right off the bat that I realized is throughout this movie, I feel like people pronounce the last name differently. Like some say Tenenbaums and some say Tenenbaums.
I think that's just a rich person pretentious thing that we're seeing.
Tenenbaums.
I'm the Tenenbaums.
Oh, so we're going to be reviewing the Tenenbaums.
Mary, it's the Tenenbaums.
You think that name existed back in the day?
What, Mary or Tenenbaum?
Tenenbaum. So we went tomato score. We're going to keep it going. This got a full 9 points lower for the critic, but still held a really good audience score. So it went 81-89. So we were talking before, it seemed more stylized. I think that this could have came off as more of a critic movie, but I think it speaks to the popularity having that 89 audience score. I think this is a really good movie, directed by Wes Andersen, obviously. Again, screenwritten by Owen Wilson and Wes Andersen. So we were talking about that kind of core nucleus in the cast. And we have the sprinkles in. One of the huge sprinkles is Gene Hackman. I mean, an all-timer playing the titular Royal Tenenbaum.
He's a generous scoop of Jimmy's. He's not just a little sprinkle.
Oh wow, that was. Are you doing a royal thing there?
Yeah, we call him Jimmy's.
Yeah. So then we have Angelica Houston playing Etheline Tenenbaum, Ben Stiller playing Chaz, Gwyneth Paltrow playing Margot, Luke Wilson playing Richie, Owen Wilson playing one of the friends. He's basically a Tenenbaum. Always wanted to be one. Eli Cash. And then we have Danny Glover playing Henry Sherman and Bill Murray back in a role as Raleigh St. Clair, Margot Tenenbaum's husband, who ends up, spoiler alert, not being as her husband by the end of it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear from probably the first time we see them.
Yeah, very clear.
Yeah, I think
But he's doing great work with Dudley. So I guess we could start out almost as a comparison between these two movies when we're talking about them. I was saying that Rushmore seemed like a slow burn to me. In terms of why I like this one more, I think a lot of it comes down to, I think that this storyline is much more progressed in the beginning of the movie, and it kind of hits that slow Wes Anderson style in the middle. But I think right away we get so much happening and we get so much of a backstory that you're more hooked than in Rushmore.
I will say that there's a lot going on. Like within the first 10 minutes, it's every single character intro, what they've done in the for their whole life, and then where they are now. So it's a ton of information just coming at you. And I did love that because it's like, okay, now I know where we are, what they've done, what they're like. I love that they go so in depth with the backstories, and some of them are so funny where it's just whether it's Mordecai having like the fucking hawk, or it's, creating a business when you're 10, having a lockbook with bonds in your room and standing up with coffee when you're 7, or going to the, animal or the Africa exhibit and hiding out for 2 weeks. It's crazy and it's awesome at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, obviously, it would be a really shitty movie if they were just like, they liked playing when they were young. I don't know. Like, no, these people were, like, extraordinary people. Everything that they did was so crazy interesting, so out there. And we had all these character intros just saying, this is the exceptional family. We have this exceptional family, but then they fall on hard times, which makes us know that we're not just going to hear about how great these people are the whole movie. We're going to kind of examine a downfall, which makes it so much more interesting to me.
Well, the downfall is so much more interesting than like an upward swing. So if we were to see them be more successful, if it's just like, oh yeah, he went on to have a successful CEO business and like he was the national championship.
Would have sucked.
It would have been horrible. Yeah. It would have been like, all right, what am I watching? Why am I here? This sucks. It's so much better when you see this family that seems like from a young age, they're all geniuses. They're all great. To then their kind of downfall and seeing them like become all fucking messes because of the parenting. Because it's like, it's all of the parenting.
It is. And I also think that the downfall is almost what makes this movie. So Rushmore, I didn't flat out say it, but Rushmore had a lot of heart. All Wes Anderson movies have a lot of heart. There's a soul to these movies. This one, I think, has it has a lot of heart, but I think that the thing that separates this movie, not only in terms of the storyline progression or how interesting I found it, is that there are huge swings. So we have these huge high moments, like when Royal's with the grandkids, and then someone tries to kill themselves and we're all depressed, and then it kind of comes back around. I think that there are more emotional swings during this, which in terms of when I'm watching a cinematic movie, I think that maybe I just like a little more.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there were more I won't say more swings, because there were like a lot of, ups and downs in Rushmore. I think there were more exaggerated swings here.
It was like less dramatic of an up and down. Yeah.
Like, because Rushmore was a smaller scale. It's like, all right, he's 15. He's moves to a different school. This movie, it's like, all right, he's going to kill himself. He just met his grandkids for the first time. Like, there's a little bit of a difference in scale there.
Yes, yeah. So it's definitely a scaled up version.
Yeah. So I do love what they did. And I love, how every character has their own personal shit going on and they're all just wacky. But
they're all such interesting characters in themselves. Like, they could all have a movie just about them, but we have all these crazy characters coexisting in this really, really odd way of this family that kind of wants to get back together and at the same time doesn't at all. They're all basically down on their luck. They all have their own stuff going on. So when you have a lot of people in the same room that all have their own stuff going on, I think it's just objectively more interesting than...
They kind of need each other, though. Like, they've been apart, but they kind of need each other.
Because they're so wacky and interesting that that's all they know. That they're the only ones that can relate to each other.
Exactly. Like Gwyneth Paltrow's character hiding that she was smoking for 22 years and then like literally going and getting married one time. Like, the private detective was following her for however long and like, what do you want to know? Here's the report. Just things like that are just...
That was also such an awesome scene. Like, when they were going through and just you saw all of... Because I think that she was the only one that remained a little mysterious up to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew enough about her, but in terms of the character intros, we saw the tennis success out of Richie. And then we also saw Chaz, Ben Stiller's character, just going, like, building all these businesses. And then... with Margot, you're like, I know something really interesting happened, and we start kind of hearing more and more about her as the movie goes on. So I like that little, like, really fast montage scene of her, like, getting married and kind of having all these affairs and everything.
Yeah, I love that. I think
she loves cigarettes, by the way. Just throw it out there. She'll get to your point.
Sucking them down. Yeah.
Just ripping darts.
Absolutely.
No,
cigs inside, cigs outside.
That's smoking cigarettes.
That's consuming as much nicotine as is possible.
Yeah. What were you going to say, though?
I think that it's because she was like the adopted daughter, and it was always made clear, like, she's my adopted daughter. Like, this is my adopted daughter, Margot, which is, really messed up. But I think also that in this, we see another instance of Wes Andersen and Owen Wilson making it easier to take in that there's a brother and sister who are kind of in love, where in the last one it's like
part of this movie.
So it's like a 15-year-old and then the teacher, and now it's like a brother and sister, but it's like her adopted sister.
Adopted. That's like the saving grace there. In Rushmore, it's like, I don't know what we say, that the teacher doesn't actually kiss him. Like, that's why it's not weird.
Yeah. Like, he kisses her for a second and then is like, get out. Like, get the fuck out.
She's like, no, we're not doing this. In this one, it's at least like she's adopted, which I'll say this. If you browse one of the most popular websites on the internet right now, I think we've come a long way since that's been as taboo.
Yeah, I think... Well,
you get what I'm saying?
Depends on what you're searching, but
no,
definitely.
I know. I'm not searching it, but I'm saying it's pretty prevalent.
I'm glad we can close that case. Thanks, Kev. Open and shut. But I do also love that this movie, like we said with Rushmore, and like we touched on a little before, where, with Max in Rushmore had that like opening of all of these clips of everything with the different clubs he was in.
Yeah.
We got that with the kids at the start where it was like, here's what they're doing, here's what like the Dalmatian mice stuff, like the keep popping up throughout is really cool. Like the little connections from their childhood that we see in those montages are all connecting through, and it's almost like none of them really got out of that mind space of when they were kids almost.
Yeah. And I think that is how you're kind of meant to feel bad for them in a way. Like these people that have had such crazy success, you're like, well, if they're
emotionally stunted.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And like those little things that keep the story together, like those Dalmatian mice, you see them, we're still living in this very unique world, this weird bubble that it just keeps coming up throughout the movie.
The wooden finger too that we saw one time when she was just tapping and she was like telling Bill Murray to get out. Basically with the tap, you were like, all right, she's kind of seasoned him to be like, all right, get the fuck out when I tap this.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if we have this in Inexclusive exclusives, but something that I caught on to was that there's obviously connections between this Wes Andersen universe. Like we have the Life Aquatic coming up in Rushmore in that book. We have in this movie, I caught on to just because I watched them in the same day. Ethylene says to Margot, like, how long have you been smoking? She says 22 years, and she says, you should quit, or something along those lines, which also is what Max says to Rosemary in Rushmore.
Exactly.
So, like, there's a direct line comparison there.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we're just all in this universe because it also with the same actors and everything.
Yeah, it's all in the universe, and they all need to stop smoking, but they all smoke in hospitals too. Yeah. So it's very, whatever universe this is, they love like exposing sick people to fumes.
Cigarettes. Yeah.
Insane.
Love making sure they get their fill.
It's very tactful, the use of cigarettes in these movies, and I'm saying this like a very big film guy. I'm putting my film cap on here. I think that it's tactful in the sense that they're purposeful. Like every cigarette that's smoked and everything that's in these movies, both of them, there's a purpose behind why the characters smoke or when they smoke or what they're doing when they smoke. Like there's a tether that ties everything together where it's the smoking is whether it be either false maturity or just like there's something behind that.
Yeah, like trying to fill a void.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something that everyone always has to keep in mind when you watch movies is everything is there for a reason. Everything happens as the result of a decision. Like, I mean, there are very unique cases that they were just like, oh, I don't know, the set was there and it was like, it just happened to be that way. No, like in terms of smoking cigarettes, it is a very calculated decision. Like, I want you to be smoking at this point.
And another calculated decision here too was, just in case you didn't catch it, you might be thinking to yourself, there were only 2 Wilson brothers in this movie. No. The voice of Andrew Wilson was Tex, the tennis commentator, so there were all 3 Wilsons pictured. Yeah. Just in case you were wondering.
Heard, not pictured.
Yeah, well, all of them were involved. That's like Owen Wilson's picture being in the last one. This one was just his voice, but a little cool toss in that they did, just connecting everything even further. Like all the Wilsons need to be involved.
Yeah.
But we do have a crazy story with kind of everything that's going on where like Royal was out of their life for so long and just living at a hotel and like disbarred in the 80s because he had a feud with his own kid. Like that whole storyline, how we get to where we are in the movie is crazy.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah, that's the thing. That's almost what I mean by that everyone can have their own movie because each place that to get there is so unique. And it's so interesting that's kind of why I think of this movie as more interesting, just because I feel like there's more appeal to it. Whereas I feel like if I would watch Rushmore more, maybe it would be like that nice warm blanket, like just toss it on whenever. I just think objectively, to me, this movie is more interesting.
I mean, I can see how you feel that way. There's definitely more of like And I think it's more aesthetically pleasing too.
It's
when you're
definitely
watching
more
it,
Wes
like the
Anderson-y.
colors are just, this is where Wes Anderson's like, here we go.
This movie is for those people that post. Do you get those Instagram posts on your Explore page where it shows a shot of a movie and then it has the color palette?
No, I don't think. Where Instagram are you on, Kev?
I mean, are sincerely unqualified. We have a lot of.
How long have you been a film guy?
A film guy.
We need to talk about this.
So that is a thing. There are these people that are so into movies, so into film that they post like these pictures. You know that every single account that has that has done probably The Royal Tenenbaums and multiple other Wes Anderson movies. This is like their wet dream of a movie. The colors are fantastic.
The white noise they fall asleep to is like fucking the Grand Budapest Hotel. They just put literally the audio
very
on.
Very artsy.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about us, sincerely unqualified. We're not actual cinema guys. We're not going to break down the colors, but we are going to talk about movies. So, do you want
yellow means happy? Like, I don't know. Let's just watch the movie. We take face value movies.
Face value. Do you want to go on? Do you want to get anything else out about the Royal Tenenbaums?
One last thing.
Yep.
In the two universes that we've seen as a connection that I want to point out is the Peanuts. And I know I talked to you a little bit before everything. So in Rushmore, there was a Peanuts song that played when Bill Murray enters into the barbershop for the first time. It was like the
Christmas time
I think
is
it was
here.
I think it was another one, but that same or like another Peanuts song is in Royal Tenenbaums, and it's Margot's like theme song, and you hear it almost every time she's on screen, which is like Wes Anderson just getting some inspiration from Charlie Brown and the Peanuts, which I noticed, and I was
Wes
like,
Anderson just fucking loves Snoopy.
Literally just loves Snoopy, dude. Like, I'm gonna write some movies, but fuck me if Snoopy's not gonna be in it.
I swear to God, if Snoopy's not in there, the song's gonna be.
That's like, I feel, isn't there a director that needs like a fucking orange in every movie or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
There's something
I know
crazy
what you're saying.
like that.
I think it was a thing in, well, I know in The Departed there are a bunch of X's, but I think that there is an orange in every single scene as well.
Yeah, which is, and that's like, I know in New Girl they do the thing where there's a bear in every episode.
Is there?
Yeah, no, there's a bear or a reference to a bear in every single episode.
I guess there are a lot that I can think of right now, but I didn't know that.
And the actors are like, yeah, it wasn't even us. Like, the writers just made the other writers laugh with these, and we just saw them, and we're like, are we doing this again? Which I think is great. But we can move on to favorites if you want.
Yeah, let's go on to favorites. The oranges is The Godfather that you're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, So my favorite character is probably going to be Eli. I'm going to go Owen Wilson's character, the mescaline addicted guy who has tribal face paint on and crashes in and kills a dog. It's just, I think it's funny because he's like seeking the approval of this other family his whole life, and then like out of nowhere where he's just kind of like very normally addicted to drugs. He's like high functioning, but they're like, let's get you help. Like the guy who just tried to commit suicide's like, hey man, let's get you some help.
I think you need some help. And he's like, well, okay, and just runs away.
Yeah.
He's having none of it. Mine is a very low-key character, but I think everything that he said, I don't know, for me, it was just like everything he said was laughing, was Heinsbergen, the guy who's Bill Murray studying.
You mean Dudley?
Yeah, he could do no wrong in my eyes.
Dudley's hilarious.
I think... And with that, you said your favorite character is Eli. My favorite scene is the Eli chase scene where he just crashes the car.
Oh, yeah.
And just they're running through the house, just going crazy. He finally realizes at the end, like, I need some help.
Yeah, by the way, Stephen Lee Shepard plays Dudley. Did you recognize him in Freaks and Geeks? He's the long-haired kid with the glasses, hangs out with the geeks. He's funny.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I had a feeling he was in Freaks. At first, like the first second, I was like, is that Martin Starr? And I was like, no, it's probably not.
He's Martin Starr adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. He's in that category. He's in that realm.
Yeah. My favorite scene is going to be, and I mentioned it, it's like the highest high that we get. It's when Royal's hanging out with his grandkids, Cass's kids. He's just doing the go-karts with them. He's making them do bad things, kind of like rough and tumble.
Dog betting.
Yeah. That was wild.
I know. That's just an insane thing to do.
It's ridiculous, very reckless, but it's happy somehow.
Yeah, it's a bonding moment for them.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
The same thing when he's talking to them. My favorite line is going to be when he says, "I'm very sorry for your loss. Your mother was a terribly attractive woman." Just such an odd thing to say about your son's wife.
I know nothing about her, but she was hot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She was a piece, dude.
Mine is from my favorite character where it's, that cab has a dent in it. And it's like the shittiest cab you've ever seen in your life. It's got like cardboard over the windows, no paint. Yeah. And he's just like, that cab has a dent in it.
Yeah,
and
it's weird, his, what's it called? Like, or just condition, I guess. There's a condition that Bill Murray is studying in the Dumplings world.
I'm not colorblind too, am I? I'm sorry to say you are.
My second line, it's actually just, it's not said, but it's the thing that's written on his gravestone. It's Royal O'Reilly Tenenbaum, 1932 to 2001, died tragically rescuing his family from the wreckage of a destroyed sinking battleship.
It's so good.
Didn't happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen the movie, that definitely did not happen. But he even asked his wife. I'm wondering, like, because he asked Ethling, like, spell check it for me before it goes up. Is everything spelled right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. That would be funny if, like, one thing was spelled wrong.
That'd be awesome.
But my last one is going to be to his guy. I forget his name. What was his name? Pongba? Pagoda. Yeah. He was awesome. Pagoda just stabs him, Royal, and he just goes, "That's the last time you put a knife in me."
I love it. He just stabs him, and he's just like, it's this really inconsequential thing. He's just like,
Slight connection. That was a Swiss Army knife, and Max gets a Swiss Army knife in the last one and cuts Dirk's hair with it. For some reason, he's using a Swiss Army knife to cut the kid's hair, but
what did he use this? Because I think at first I was like, oh, he's using it, and then I thought he was using scissors.
No, I thought he was using the Swiss Army knife. Either way, connection.
Go back and watch, everyone. We'll move on to exclusives for this movie here. So this movie actually kind of started out, the primary story was Wes Anderson's parents getting divorced. Mm-hmm. But then, it was inspired by real life. But even Wes Anderson said that it ended up being like very different from his own personal experiences. Like just certain things. Like I think his mom was also an archaeologist. Just things like that. So he had the backbone of the movie from his own personal experience, but then expanded from there. So the name that we also said that is pronounced differently, Tenenbaum, it actually came from Wes Anderson's college friend. So his name is Brian Tenenbaum, and he appears as a paramedic in one of the scenes. And he also was in Bottle Rocket and Rushmore in Wes Anderson movies. Yeah, so he has his friend in there and a few cameos.
He's a staple, too.
He is a staple, yeah.
One of the Tenenbaums was almost recast, but, we got who we got, and we got Gene Hackman. And that's not bad, but it could have been Gene Wilder, but he turned down the role because he retired, which, understandable. There's got to be a limit.
Yeah, he just needed to make sure that a Gene was in the role.
Exactly.
He wasn't sure if it was Hackman or if it was going to be Wilder, but he was like, damn it, if I don't have a Gene in this role.
Are there any other fucking Genes? I don't know if that's what he sounds like. I'm assuming that's what he sounds like. He's like...
You think Wes Anderson sounds like that? Have you seen the movies?
Yes. Put more colors, you fucks. I think that's exactly what...
I mean, he does love cigarettes. Maybe he's just ripping a cigarette, drinking a coffee like, hey... I need this to be more pastel-like.
I said Turkisha, not Blanger. Like, what? Blanger is a new color. Yes, I made up two colors.
I like it.
Some other role-oriented, news is Danny Glover, Luke Wilson, and Owen Wilson turned down parts in Ocean's 11 to appear in this film. gotta say, I'm happy both ways because this movie was better with the Wilsons in it. And Ocean's 11 was better
as is.
Without the Wilsons.
It probably was, yeah.
If there were both Wilsons trying to rob a bank, they were like, hey, we're going to steal your stuff, man. No, dude, we need an EMP, guy.
I don't think they would have sounded like that, but I get what you're saying.
They could have.
They could have. No, I think you're right. I think that they probably knew what they were doing, turning that down and taking this. So yeah, we got Gene Hackman, and apparently Gene Hackman, it wasn't the best to work with in this movie. So there was some drama on set. Hackman was kind of tough, butted heads with Wes Andersen a little, and it actually got to the point where Bill Murray had an off day, like wasn't supposed to come in, but he actually ended up coming in to kind of watch over Wes Andersen, make sure that everything ran smoothly, and even called out Bill Murray was the one to basically tell Gene Hackman to lighten up, I guess, in a way.
Lighten up, Francis. If you know what that's from, then you're sick. But that you need a heavyweight to combat a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And you got to have somebody come in who's just like, look, guy, chill.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wait, I know where that's from. What is it?
Yeah. Lighten up, Francis.
What is it?
It's from a war movie.
Okay.
If you can guess.
Huh?
If you can guess what war movie, I'll tell you after. But yeah, that's going to be a trivia.
It's a Full Metal
question.
Jacket or something?
Yeah, lighten up, Francis.
Okay. Why would you tell me after? This is a movie
Because
podcast.
it's
The people
fun,
deserve
Kevin.
to know. Full Metal Jacket. I got it right. So also, that in the movie, Ben Stiller's character had a BB lodged in to his hand. It kind of moved around. Royal moved it around.
It's not from Full Metal Jacket, by the way.
Okay, what is it?
Another Bill Murray movie, which is why the reference was made. It's Stripes.
Okay, Stripes. For the love of God, let people know next time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make you sweat a little bit.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Ben Stiller's character, he had a BB lodged between his knuckles, in his hand, and it was shot into by his own father. And it's actually not Ben Stiller's hand that they show because Andrew, Owen and Luke's brother, actually has a BB lodged into his hand. So they just showed Andrew Wilson's hand in this, and they were moving it around.
I feel like also, yeah, we said that the three Wilsons are in it, and that's another instance where Andrew's in it. But it's also crazy to
just
have
his hand.
You can't get it removed. You have a BB in your hand forever.
Also, Owen shot it at him.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow, it's stuck there, eh? Wow. So the original Hawk that was used to play Mordecai, this is insane, is kidnapped during shooting and held for ransom. And so production couldn't wait for him to be returned. So the bird that appears later in the movie has more white feathers because it's a different bird, because they just had to get a different bird.
Yeah, they make this line about how maybe he went through trauma, because people can get white hair when they go through trauma. No, it was being held ransom. Yeah, actually that hawk might have had some trauma going to it. But yeah, I think that they used 3 hawks during the filming of the movie. One because
which is insane.
It's being held for ransom. That's nuts.
So they used a real hawk and they used a real house. So the real house is located on 144th Street and Convent Avenue in New York. And production used the interior and exterior of the house during the movie, only for a few kitchen scenes and everything. Mm-hmm. But, they had to shoot in and out of the house, which is pretty cool that, that house that you're seeing isn't just, a set or an art design. It's a real place.
Makes it feel so much
better. It's a cool design. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice.
That's nice. Yeah.
It's a nice place.
Yeah. So during the scene, during the character intros, we get this thing that Margot and Richie went and they hid in a museum overnight. And that was actually inspired by a children's book. So in E.L. Konigsberg's 1967 book, From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankenweiler, 2 kids run away and then they end up staying at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met. And that was actually Wes Anderson's favorite book as a child.
Makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
That, and he's watching Charlie Brown. He was just ripping Charlie Brown.
I fucking love Peanuts.
Ripping cigarettes.
He's ripping darts.
In hospitals.
Dude, I love Snoopy.
Just looking at color palettes.
Oh, yeah, he's browsing Instagram at those Instagram accounts you didn't know existed.
He's reading this story while watching the Peanuts, while ripping color palettes and smoking cigarettes, all in a hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the Wes Andersen childhood.
Yeah.
But
that's how you get these movies, folks.
Chaz, Ben Stiller, was originally supposed to wear a black Adidas tracksuit rather than his red one each time he went to the cemetery, but Ben Stiller thought it would be funnier if he only wore it at Royal's funeral, which it was. I think that's way better. Yeah.
I also like it because, like, it doesn't really add up that Ben Stiller's character would really like tracksuits. Like, he was this CEO mogul at the age of, 10, and now he's just wearing tracksuits, I guess. That's fine.
Yeah. Jack and Coke, do it. That's all I can think of when I hear tracksuit. Jack and Coke, do it. Which was only 3 years later.
Yeah. So we actually, let's quick touch on SNL because we've been with the Elon Musk thing. We'll wrap up quick with This Week in Comedy. We had Keegan Michael Key on as the host. We went back to some sketch comedy. Yeah, Masters at Penn State. That's our guy. So we were talking about it, and I thought that when he watched most sketches, I watched the monologue. Something that I do just want to point out is that I feel like when SNL kind of took its downturn and it kind of became less in the zeitgeist, less popular, that's when Key and Peele was like at its top. So I think it's kind of funny that we get Keegan Michael Key back when SNL is like back in the news. Now people are thinking about it again.
It's the crossover that we needed. Of course, during the monologue, there was the obligatory like, oh, how did you feel about getting your Oscar for Get Out? And it was like, okay, well, close.
Wrong guy. I bet that was actually really funny.
That was really funny. I did like that because it was like, are they going to mention Jordan? Of course they are. Like, they have to. And then, he broke out into song. I love that because, he can do whatever he wants, honestly.
Yeah. I was actually wondering if he was going to do like songs in his monologue because he really isn't a stand-up. He is just sketch comedy. He's a really good actor. I think that he directs and produces and everything too. Yeah. But at the same time, he's very talented musically.
Yeah, he's all around just super talented. But I did love the one sketch, of course, the Last Dance sketch, where it was basically like a behind the scenes look at MJ like betting against the security manager, and they got it all so perfect. I just love that, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, like binging 10 episodes of The Last Dance.
Huge for the pandemic. Yeah.
And it's just making fun of by MJ betting, and he's taking everything from his security guard. Security guard goes, I don't have that kind of money. It's like, well, bet me one night with your wife. It's like, okay. He's like, well, somebody's in the doghouse. Like,
yeah. So I mean, we have that's something
I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
And the Muppet sketch was pretty funny. If you're gonna watch some, I think those two and the monologue you should definitely check out.
Okay. Yeah. No, I always like when they get those sketch people, just because it seems like it's so much more true to form. But I really don't have a problem with when they have Elon Musk and stuff in there. And
they can do
let's
whatever.
point out though that they did call out. They even just mentioned him during the monologue. Yeah. So I think we were right when we were saying like that's kind of they knew what they were doing. They were like, let's get some buzz going, and we're gonna keep bringing this up.
Oh, they knew exactly what they were doing, and like we were saying, even if it didn't go well, it's still like we had Elon Musk on. That's what we did.
Yeah. And but what was it that they said he was like talking about getting a tattoo from Pete Davidson or something?
Oh,
and Pete Davidson said like, oh, that's what Elon said too.
Because he was like, oh, we'll do it after the show. He's like, that's what Elon said last week.
Even that, I'm telling you, I think that they knew what they were doing. I think that it's keeping the name in the news, and we're still talking about it now. But
I don't want to say it though. I did think because you know how they bring out people during monologues sometimes. I did think even when he mentioned it, like, oh, thank God, there's no big celebrity that's coming out. If they brought out Jordan Peele.
I thought they were going to. I thought that was going to be the bit. Well, then they went to the cast member in the audience, and I thought that the person in the audience was going to be Jordan Peele, and I thought we were going to get a Key and Peele kind of thing.
So did I.
I think that's like a statement from Jordan Peele saying like, I am doing horror movies now. I am the like hottest director in the game. I'm directing movies, and that's it.
He's doing whatever he wants to do now. And let's not forget the fact that Jordan Peele is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But he has earned the right to do whatever he wants.
Oh, he is really probably the hottest young director in the game. So I think that's him I think if he wasn't as dedicated to making these movies that he is now, like I think that he's doing the Candyman that's going to have its release now this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think that that's basically a statement from Jordan Peele saying, I'm okay. Because it had to be thrown around. There's no way no one brought up, like, there's no way people just didn't bring it up to Keegan, or Keegan even brought it up. Like, it's Key and Peele in terms of sketch comedy. And even though Keegan is so successful on his own without him, when you have a duo like that and you're on a sketch comedy show, it makes sense to have the duo on.
Exactly.
Like, they're doing their own things, but I mean,
Keegan is awesome, and he did a great job on his own. So gotta applaud him for that. I mean,
I love Keegan.
The guy on his own is hilarious. He does a James Franklin impression like no other. Gotta love it.
Shout out
X2 banana right switch.
Stuff. So that wraps it up for this week. We're not too sure what we're doing next week, but please let us know what you would like to see us do. Yeah, let us
more movies, or like, back to the B&B, bread and butter.
Yeah. Hit us up on TikTok, Instagram, email us at sincerelyunqualified@gmail.com. And if you could, please leave us a review, give us a comment, do anything like that. It really helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys. Until next week, I'm Kevin.
I'm Winnie.
We'll see you at the next episode.
Lighten up, Francis.
What was it again? Stripes.
Yeah. Lighten up, Francis.